sites. And if this guy's skiing in Aspen somewhere, then you can claim that he's not disabled. So those are some of the things that applications that we're seeing around AI and machine learning and financial services. And actually, an interesting quote that someone mentioned, I don't know who the author of this was, but they mentioned that many industry experts and researchers think that AI is going to be the next technological quantum leap, similar to the ones that we talked about before, and serve as one of the most important general all-purpose technologies in this coming era. So with all the benefits of AI and the values that we see that companies are seeing that are getting derived out of AI, there's also quite a few challenges that need to be addressed before you adopt artificial and machine learning. And these are a lot of the things that we're helping our clients with. But first and foremost is around legacy technology. So the decades of all this technology debt, lack of investment in your infrastructure has led to aging cores. A lot of this infrastructures, if you're on servers, are nearing end of life, and they're kind of this federated backend where you have distributed data sources that are not consolidated in one place. And so that's a big area where if you even want to contemplate AI machine learning, it's all about the data, but you need the right architecture first to store that information. So getting off of legacy technology, moving to more modern architectures is really the first imperative around that. Talent scarcity, we talked about that a little bit yesterday as well, but the war for talent, just finding the right individuals in the environment where you have this need for data scientists, and these are people that can really think up and down the stack, right? They can look at business outcomes, understand your business, but also translate that down to really the atomic data level. And so it's hard to find some of those individuals. It takes kind of an engineering and a scientific background to really do that. And it's a little bit of an art and science in terms of being able to have those capabilities. And so when you're battling with the tech companies, that war for talent is going to be very important. And then even your existing staff, moving to these different types of staffing arrangements where it's not just going to be institutional staff. You're also going to have automation. You're going to have contingent workers in this kind of gig economy. But really training the internal skill sets and making sure they have the internal skill sets to support the business model of the future. And one of the challenges there is even if you train some of these folks, end of life of some of these technologies are happening so quickly that's going to be a challenge to get them proficient in time enough for when the technology has to change again. And some of the technologies that we've implemented at some of our clients that were changing already end of life in a matter of 3 or 4 years. And so it used to be decades, and now you're looking at scales of 3 to 4 years now that technology is becoming end of life. And then lastly, data quality. So for AI and machine learning, making sure that you've got kind of quality, quantity, and security around that data. Quantity, all types of AI require some of these large, massive, robust, clean data sets. You got to make sure that the quality of the data from the source systems to the data lake, it's handled like a commodity. I almost kind of use the analogy, it's almost like a data supermarket, right? So you want to know where your crops come from the field, but as you get them in the supermarket, you want to organize them in the right manner. You got your vegetables, you got your meats. You've got everything kind of organized the right way so that you can leverage the data, use that as a shared service across the organization, but create different outputs, right? If you want to do reg reporting, or if you want to look at customer behaviors, or if you want to create new products and services, you need the right data structures in place for that. And then, lastly, we talked about data security. Just making sure you're protecting all that harvested personal information is always going to be top of mind. So. Last year, at the end of Q3, Protiviti, we participated in a Wealth 2022 study, and we did this with a consortium of banks globally. And one of the outputs of that study, and this was really starting to look at a lot of the investments that were made in the banking and payment space, which are now getting translated over into asset management and insurance. But it really showed some interesting results, and we took a survey across a gamut of different financial service companies, and we just provided the slice for insurance. But it's really showing a stark difference between digital leaders versus digital followers. You're starting to see a real gap in terms of the benefits you're getting from making the right investments into technology, including things like AI. So if you look across the board, from everything from market share to revenue growth to assets under management to productivity, you're seeing kind of mid-single level and to low double-digit growth there. And a lot of these companies, and we're looking at, if you look at some of the insurance companies, some of the leaders there are investing up to 11% of their revenues on technology. And this is to address the kind of the aspects around technology debt. But I think at the end of the day, you've always got to have a change the bank budget, and you have to have a run the bank budget. That's just something that it's just going to be a continual evolution, and institutions need to understand that it's not just a one point in time investment. This is something that you always got to do to look at new technologies for potentially new capabilities that can enable your institution, but also scan the horizontal for any potential types of disruptors that are out there. But we're seeing some of the leaders even up planning to increase this investment up to 18 to 20% by 2022. So before we kind of pivot into more of the insurance use cases, I just wanted to kind of give a little bit more of a forward think on some of the future artificial intelligence evolution themes, and it's really kind of threefold. First of all, visions of a cashless society. You look at places like Singapore that are moving towards being these first smart nations that are going to these total electronic payment types of infrastructures. And you've got companies out there that we talked about, Ethereum, Dash. You've got Ripple, some of these cryptocurrencies out there that are just going to store a lot of information, a lot of purchase information of customers that are going to be accessible. It's going to have a lot of the ways that digital currencies are going to start to play out in the future. Electronic currencies are going to start to play a role, and I think that's an area where we can see a lot of applications for artificial intelligence. We talked about augmented and virtual reality. You've got the new products out there in AR like Microsoft HoloLens and Magic Leap. That's a Google product. Also with Oculus, but these are all new areas as you start to collect data through experiences. People are going to start to shop through virtual reality and augmented reality. You're also going to have different types of avatars that could be different financial advisors or customer support agents that are going to collect information through voice interfaces. And then lastly, I think the health wealth 2.0, and I think a lot of you guys remember back in 2000 there was kind of the first health wealth convergence where a lot of the paper records were getting put on electronic records. A lot of those investment has been made already in kind of the health and healthcare field. But now you've got some of these IoT devices like Bedit and Fitbit. There's a company called Pulse Data that's able to take these data sources that are new sources of information that you never had before, and can start to look at starting to predict preventable types of diseases. And so I think you're going to start to see this health wealth convergence of 2.0 as we start to mature this into the future.
And some of this is AI, machine learning. Some of it is more digital and technological that'll be enhanced through the machine learning and the AI. So it's got to mature. But there's just a lot of really good examples in insurance, and it's really a business that's ripe for using these technologies to improve. And some of these have been mentioned. Is there a clicker or?
Just the arrow.
Just the arrow. Okay. Some of them have been mentioned already over the last day and a half, but we'll just kind of go over them, and we could talk, keep it informal. If you want to share your own experiences, that would be great. So first, a little bit from our survey, just to drill into kind of what people were saying about where they're using the AI, specifically in insurance. So this is uses of AI. So where are we seeing it? Optimizing back office, improving portfolio management, and increasing productivity. Today, you could see the penetration, about 14% of the companies, 13% for portfolio management. Where we're thinking and where the survey is saying we're going to be in 5 years, look at the growth rate. Double practically in some of these areas, the penetration in companies using it. And insurance is actually ahead of the overall market. So we always talk about insurance being a little bit behind banking in some instances, but when you think about the broader industry, they're actually further ahead. And they're I've seen with my clients technology being used, especially in claims and fraud detection. There's a lot of good cases. We're starting to see like the fluidless underwriting. So we'll talk about some of this. So that's just a couple areas about using artificial intelligence. Here's a couple more areas: automating compliance processes, uncovering cyber risk. I think this is a big focus area for insurance. There's a tremendous amount of fraud, and it's just growing in magnitude and scale and complexity thanks to cyber and the use of criminals using cyber as ways to attack the insurance company. The Equifax breach was a huge, we're actually seeing and hearing that a lot of companies, insurers, are being targeted through information that was gleaned from that breach in particular, because it shared with criminals what insurance companies the individual had policies with. So now you can connect the name to a actual specific company. So you're not just phishing, you're calling up and saying, I'm so-and-so from, and you know that they already have a policy there. Very interesting. Predictive analytics, we've seen a lot of predictive pricing going on and using predictive pricing models previously in insurance to kind of see what would be the impact of pricing changes on a book of business or a line of business. And the actuaries always try to do those things with models, but just being able to enhance that even more and more with the technology. And so this is where just huge growth rates. So this survey provided like a lot of really great insights. And we actually have a little booth in the next room. I'm sure some of you saw it, where we've been having our meals. We have a more detailed version of this, which is like a little bit of a white paper. You can definitely take a copy and dive into that. So I encourage you to pick it up. We've got some quotes in here, but I won't read those. AI will be key for insurance customer marketing and service. We talked a little bit about like the chatbots yesterday, created automated advisors. The biggest challenge with this is how do you make sure that the regulations are followed, and that the bot is basically licensed, if you will, to provide the right information on coverage, needs, and things of that nature. So we're really talking about a very sophisticated technology that you could say, hey, this is my scenario, what do I need? Today, only a licensed agent can be providing that kind of information, right? It's not just any representative. So how do you get the bot to be that advanced? Right now, the bot use cases are more basic, right? What's my balance? When's my next payment due? Can I cancel my policy? And then it can route you as the dialogue person to somebody more appropriate if it can't handle it. Tracking sentiment and opportunities, huge growth there for marketing. Finding and attracting customers, huge growth predicted there. Every category, just expect huge data-driven expectation. It's not hard. One of the two common myths I hear when we meet with clients to talk about any projects that remotely relate to data or technology is, one, can this save us a ton of money? The answer is yes, but it's not going to save you money like tomorrow. There's a huge investment both in time and money right now to get it working. So it does take a little time, but then of course down the line. And then the other thing is, you really have to focus on getting the right data. A lot of companies are concerned that their data is not good or it's all over the place. But you know what I always tell the client is work with the data that you have. Don't not go forward just because you don't have a complete population. Okay, if we can deal with this for 3 of these admin systems, let's do the 3 that we can do it on. That's better than 0. And so you got to kind of get away from the thing we have bad data or it's these old legacy systems, because every insurer, 90% of the insurers, that's their situation anyway. So you're just in the same situation as your peers.